What's up, TM Nation? Today we're taking a deep dive into a comparison that I've been excited to make for quite a while, the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 versus the Panasonic Lumix S9. Now, I've been testing these two cameras extensively over the past several months, and let me tell you, the matchup is much more interesting than you may think. So here's the thing, with these we've gotten two completely different approaches to portable content creation. On one hand, you've got the ultra portable DJI Pocket 3 that comes in at around $800 or $980 for the creator combo. On the other hand, there's the compact but not exactly pocketable Lumix S9 that is essentially a full frame, full featured camera that retails for almost $1,800 with the 18 to 40 kit lens, but I've seen it go on sale many times over the past couple of months, and in fact I was able to pick mine up with the 18 to 40 kit lens for right at $1,500. I picked up the Pocket 3 back when it launched at about $520, and although I own Sony, Canon, and Fuji cameras, I've always had a soft spot in my heart for Panasonic products because my Lumix G7 was really one of my first real camera purchases. So in this video, I'll go over which camera I think is better for travel, and given the price hike with the Pocket 3, if it's worth it to pay the extra money and step up to a much more capable platform with the Lumix S9 in terms of overall performance and abilities while sacrificing in other areas. Before we take a deep dive, let me give you the rundown on what makes these cameras special. The DJI Pocket 3 is literally pocket size with its 3-axis gimbal, 4K recording at up to 120 frames per second for slow-mo, and seamless wireless connectivity with DJI microphones. The Lumix S9, on the other hand, is a full-frame mirrorless camera that's kind of been stripped down to the essentials, featuring that same sensor as the S5 II, good in-body stabilization, and a real-time LUT system that is definitely a game changer for folks that like to have effects applied to their footage in camera. Alright guys, so about 14 hours later, 13 and some change with the connection, I have just landed in Dubai. This footage is taken with the DJI Pocket 3. Again, stock settings, I haven't changed anything on the camera. So one thing I can say for vlogging, this is like the perfect length because my hand is right here, but you can see a good amount of my background as well. So I will switch over to the Lumix S9 in 1 minute. Give me a second. All right guys, so now I'm using the Lumix S9. Again, stock settings, completely stock. This is everything on auto. So again, this is the widest that it'll go. I have it at 18 millimeters right now, so you're seeing pretty much all that I can get out of it at arm's length, which again is a lot more cropped in than what I get with the DJI Pocket 3, but I'll get some more footage in some different environments. Give me a moment. Alright, so let's go ahead and start with the most obvious difference. That's going to be the size. The DJI Pocket 3, as the name suggests, literally is pocket sized. I'm talking about the size of a Snickers bar. I love the fact that you can throw this thing in a jeans pocket and almost forget that it's there until you need it. I've been carrying mine just about everywhere for over a year, and even though initially I was worried about the build quality and how it would hold up with the gimbal, everything works completely fine to this day, despite me throwing it in my pocket sometimes, my backpack and others, and in some cases just carrying it around in my hand without having it in any type of protective case or cover. The Lumix S9, while still impressively compact for a full frame camera, is definitely bigger. When I first held it in my hands, I was genuinely shocked at how much smaller it felt compared to what I saw online in the videos and pictures. I did pick up this L-shaped handle, let me show you, right here from Small Rig to make it easier to handle in the hands, but outside of that, it feels great. Now weight-wise, the Pocket 3 is obviously the winner here, coming in at about 179 grams. The S9 with a battery and memory card is closer to 486 grams, but the final weight of course can vary heavily depending on your choice of lens, because unlike the Pocket 3, with the S9 you can choose from any of the full-frame lenses that work with the L-mount system. One thing that I can say though is that carrying the S9 with the 18 to 40 millimeter kit lens, it was definitely light enough that I was able to comfortably have it around my neck for just about my full Dubai trip a couple of months ago without feeling weighed down. Moving on to the picture quality, the Pocket 3 has a 1-inch sensor with 9.4 pixels, and before you go ahead and scoff at that megapixel count, remember this camera was mainly created for video, but it can certainly take respectable still photos, and the quality for me is decent for what it is. The Lumix S9 on the other hand has that same 24 megapixel full frame sensor from the S5 II, so the difference in image quality is night and day, especially when you zoom into the footage. The detail, the dynamic range, and the low light performance is just noticeably better with the larger camera. So far, I've taken over 500 pictures with my S9, and to be completely honest, some of my favorite shots over the past year have come from this little camera. But here's the thing, guys, and this is really important for me to say, if you're primarily shooting for social media, the Pocket 3's image quality is probably going to be adequate, especially when you take into account that Instagram and other social media apps are just going to compress your images anyway. That full frame sensor benefit is going to diminish pretty quickly. Now, in terms of video quality, both cameras can shoot 4K, but they approach it very differently. The Pocket 3 maxes out at 4K 60 frames per second with 4K 120 frames per second for slow motion, and in general the footage looks great, especially when you consider the size of the camera. The colors are punchy. I'd say maybe a bit oversaturated compared to what I prefer, but it's definitely got that modern social media ready look. The S9 can shoot in 6K open gate, which gives you incredible flexibility in post. The color science is more natural. It's got that Panasonic film-like look that I've grown to love over the years, and that real-time LUT system gives you the ability to get that cinematic look out of the camera without any post-processing. But one feature that you get with the S9 that I haven't seen any camera company provide outside of Panasonic is 4K live cropping. This has been a game changer for me for several years, especially for product shots, because it's basically like having a slider in your camera that allows you to set begin and end points to get a slider type shot without moving your camera at all. But here's another area between these two cameras where things get interesting, and that's going to be in the stabilization category. The Pocket 3 of course has that physical 3-axis gimbal, which in theory should destroy any digital stabilization system. But I have to say that the S9's in-body stabilization is so good that it's honestly pretty close. I've done side-by-side walking tests, and while the Pocket 3 has a slight edge, the difference is not as dramatic as you'd expect. Alright guys, so as you can see right now, I am at the airport waiting to board to go to Newark, New Jersey, and this is an example of what you can expect to get out of the camera with the DJI Pocket 3, and the camera is about an arm's length away. So again, this is a sample. And here is a sample with the Lumix S9. This is how it would look if you just picked the camera up and started recording with it. And right now I do have it at its widest setting in terms of the lens. It's at 18 millimeters. So one thing that I can notice right off the bat is that it's a lot more punched in than I get with the DJI Pocket 3. So that's one thing to keep in mind if you're going to get this camera and lens combination, is that for vlogging it may not be the best, but in general this is everything that you can expect stock settings. This is the audio coming from the mic on the camera as well. So I'll check you guys out in New Jersey. Peace. The S9 also gives you the MP4 light codec that gives you smaller file sizes while maintaining 4K quality, which is perfect for sharing your videos and photos to social media quickly. And taking that even further, with the S9 you get the Lumix Lab app that makes transferring and sharing content incredibly seamless. Alright, so now let me move on and talk about audio, and this is where DJI really flexes its ecosystem muscles. The Pocket 3's built-in microphone is okay. I do think that it's more than adequate if you're in a pinch. However, and this is a big however, the wireless connectivity with the DJI microphones is absolutely game-changing with how easy they are to connect and how convenient they are without having any wires. If you pick up the Creator Combo, that's gonna come with the DJI Mic 2, which automatically connects to your Pocket 3 with zero setup. This makes this package extremely convenient and everything just works. You don't need any adapters or anything of that nature, and the audio quality is pretty good as well. We're talking 32-bit float recording, which means that you don't have to worry about clipping, and if you want to, you can get another one of these microphones and pair both of them to the DJI Pocket 3 wirelessly for stereo recording or interviews. The S9 on the other hand has a standard 3.5mm input, so you can use pretty much any microphone that you want, but of course you're going to be introducing cables, and let's be honest, cables are the enemy of portability. I will say that the built-in microphone is decent for what it is, but if you're serious about audio, especially if you're going to be in windier environments or not directly in front of the camera, you're likely going to need an external solution. Now let's talk about how these cameras actually perform in the real world, because specs on paper only tell part of the story. For just about a year, I used the Pocket 3 as my go-to travel camera, and outside of the portability and the convenience of the microphone, the active track feature is incredible. It literally follows your face and keeps you in the frame automatically. It's like having a camera operator in your pocket, and the flip to selfie mode is something that I use constantly. With it, you get the full resolution of the main camera while being able to see yourself on the screen, which in most cases, unless you have the brand new iPhone 17 lineup, is gonna be noticeably clearer and more high quality than your phone's front-facing camera. Talking about now though, the S9 has become my go-to travel camera. It's small enough that I don't mind carrying it everywhere, but also capable enough that I don't feel like I'm compromising on quality. Also, the Lumix Lab app makes sharing content to my phone incredibly easy and quick. Alright guys, so I am back in Newark, New Jersey airport. My trip to Dubai for my birthday was excellent. Hopefully you guys will see all the footage and pictures that I took out there, but this is an example again of the footage that you can expect out of the Pocket 3. But this time I'm using the microphone, as you can see, clipped to my shirt. So let me know what you think. Is this a good enough setup for you? Let me know. So now let's go ahead and talk about money, because at the end of the day, that's going to be a huge factor in which one of these you pick up. As I mentioned earlier, the Pocket 3 starts at $800 now, but I do recommend the Creator Combo that's going to cost you $980. Yes, that's almost $1,000 for what's essentially an advanced smartphone camera, but with it, you're getting pretty much everything you need for high quality content creation in one package. The S9 of course is gonna cost you more. How much more is gonna be dependent on what lens you go for, but when you consider that you're getting a full frame sensor with the same image quality as cameras costing twice as much, the value proposition starts to make a lot more sense. So here's my take after extensive testing with both cameras. If you're primarily focused on social media content, vlogging, or you just want something that is truly pocketable and won't weigh you down, the DJI Pocket 3 is incredible. The gimbal stabilization that it offers, the wireless audio integration, and the active tracking makes it great for all-around content creation. But if you want the best image quality in a portable package and you don't mind carrying something slightly larger, the Lumix S9 is hard to beat. The full-frame sensor, the video capabilities, the real-time LUT system, it's really just a full-featured camera that happens to be really small. But like I tell anyone who asks, if your budget is tight, your smartphone, if made within the last 5 years, will get you most of what you need until you have the cash to invest in either one of these cameras. And if you want better stabilization and mic quality coming out of your phone, you can easily pick up an Osmo Mobile, for example, and one of the many budget wireless lavalier microphones such as the Mayono Wave T5, and have a pretty solid starter setup for talking head and vlogging style videos. But other than that guys, as always, I appreciate you coming through and hanging out with your boy for a while. Please do me a huge favor and hit that like and subscribe before you get on out of here if you haven't already, as it does help the channel out immensely. But until next time, I will catch y'all in the next video. Peace.